The harder the conflict, the greater the triumph.
A theistic serpent may be overcome by a swarm of ants.
Lead me, follow me, or get out of my way. Age wrinkles the body, quitting wrinkles the soul.
Battle buddies.
Battle buddies.
We built this city on rock and roll. That's a liberal pour you got there, bud.
Yeah, it's been a long day, friend.
It's a nice liberal pour.
There's like a
I encourage
dash
it.
of water.
I encourage it. I'm not talking shit.
School's out. I was playing that song all day. School's
So
out
what-
for summer.
Speaking of, I feel bad because you just told me that your wife said I watch a lot of movies.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, when you hear school's out, what movie do you think of? Do you think of a movie?
I don't think of a movie. I just think of the songs.
I think of Dazed and Confused.
Oh, yeah.
When in the beginning, when the school's out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie.
That's a great movie.
Texas. It's a Texas movie.
Oh, man.
Have you been learning about the world?
Yeah.
Has it made you, would you say that it was a sad day to learn about the world?
You know, it's hard to say because there are sad things that happen. But then when I'm looking at these battles, I'm like, oh, well, they stopped it. That's dope. But then I'm like, oh, why did it happen to begin with? You know, like
You go
I just
down
like
a
keep
hole.
going back and back. But overall, it doesn't seem that bad comparatively. And I'm sorry for everyone who died because clearly it was bad for you. But compared to the other weeks that I've been studying it, it's been worse.
I felt like I learned some fun stuff today. Like,
All right.
as in, like, this is kind of relieving.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Battle Buddies. Here we are on an At Ease episode where we talk about current conflicts on planet Earth. Human beings fight amongst each other. Did you know that?
Unfortunately,
It's not fortunate. It's not great.
I've been really thinking of your statement at the Let It Golf episode last time. Like, just so we're clear, for war anti? Like, I like it as a question. Like, I'm anti-war. Like,
How do you feel
I have
about
to say that?
9/11?
Yeah, exactly.
Not good.
It wasn't great for anybody.
Yeah. Would you? Where should we kick? Where do you think is a good starting point? You want me to start today?
Yeah, you can start today.
So, I went down a Taliban road today.
Welcome to the Taliban.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Really fun. I really am kind of conflicted where to start, whether it be because I've split into two series here with the Taliban, where I can either start with Afghanistan or Pakistan. I am kind of in the mood to start with Pakistan because I feel like it's less known about.
All right.
So the Taliban in Pakistan is called the TTP, which stands for the Tehrik-i-Taliban, which translates to the Taliban movement.
Okay.
Now, if you go back to when you were talking about, I believe, Boko Haram,
Right.
and I was like, bro, they're all Islamic extremists. Because don't they get along? You're like, I feel like you get your ass beat for saying some shit like that. It turns out it's kind of the same thing with the Taliban in Pakistan versus the Taliban in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
They beefing.
Okay.
They do not get along very
So
well.
even within the Taliban, they're splintering and they're fighting.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I know that they're fighting right now with al-qaeda too.
Really?
Yeah, there's.
Jesus.
I didn't know they were fighting. They're under a supposed there's like an armistice or armistice.
Armistice, yeah.
Yeah, so there's some kind of the fighting's over, and everyone in the world is like, we didn't know you were fighting, and then me, I'm like, I didn't know you're not the same person.
That's some Nate Bargatze shit. Like, oh, I'm just now finding out you guys are different.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for you guys. Wow. Okay. When you say Al Qaeda, my mind goes to Iraq. Is that correct?
Well, it has more to do with ideology. So, but it's confusing, and this is where we're going to seem really Christian, even though neither of us are practicing Christians. because they're both different sects of like an extreme version of Sunni Islamics.
Okay.
And so like to them, couldn't it be more different?
Right.
Like, and then to them, one of them, it's like in the West Wing when they talk about how, ISIS and al-qaeda is to the KKK, right? That's who they're similar to in terms of religion, like
extremism.
Yeah, like they are closer to the KKK than they are to Christianity.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense.
I got you. I do. When I was learning about all the different subsects of tribes and different religions in Afghanistan, I think one of the best ways for me to explain it to random folks who weren't studying it for a painstaking amount of time, it's kind of like all the different amounts of Christianity we have here. Like Pentecostals and like, isn't that interesting that in the United States, when it's like, oh, you're a Christian? What kind of Christian are you? And it's like, oh, well, I'm an Assembly of God.
Right.
I'm a Baptist. I'm a this. Things get real complicated when you learn about all the different subtleties between all of them.
Right.
Anywho.
So they're beefing.
They did help the Afghanistan government in 2009 timeframe against the American forces. So they combined like these two Talibans, the Pakistan Taliban and the Afghanistan Taliban, were like, cool, we can both come together to like fight at the American forces. But
America just bringing people together since 2002.
But that didn't last long because their disagreements, I'm assuming, over, again, like we were talking about ideologies here. So the TTP, which again stands for the Tehrik-i Taliban, the TTP, just so we remember, this is the Pakistan Taliban. They don't like the Taliban in Afghanistan, nor do they like the government of Pakistan. So they mainly reside on the border of Pakistan near Afghanistan in the south. That's kind of where they reside. And the Pakistani army has gone on an offensive to get rid of the Taliban on the border. And this is like erupted in full scale war between the two. Right. So
great for civilians so far.
I'm going to get into that.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I always think like now bread makers, like the dude who's just waking up at 3 a.m, making the bread, just like life isn't too bad. I get to make bread for a living. People need this shit.
That hits home pretty hardcore. When I was in Marja, the dude who made bread got killed because he was talking. Yeah, because he was talking to Marines.
Really?
Yeah, and he made delicious bread too. Anyway, yeah, no, that hits home for sure. But in 2014, the Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was trying to negotiate like a peace agreement with the TTP, and that's when shit kind of unraveled and the TTP attacked like the international airport in Karachi. And that's officially when, the government of Pakistan was on the offensive. And this erupted into an attack on a public school in Peshawar that killed nearly 150 people.
Jesus.
Mostly school children. And it's considered the deadliest terrorist attack in Pakistan's history. So, needless to say, the U.S. did what the U.S. does best, and we have performed drone strikes on the border, targeting the TTP in an effort to help the Pakistani government. And I'm going to get into this further, but like the Pakistani government...
It's hella confusing, right? It's
mainly, not only is it confusing, but I'm starting to really realize there's a lot of similarities between Pakistan and Afghanistan when it comes to corruption. And it makes me really sad because I know that there's people in the Pakistan government who are clearly like, man, we got to get fucking Taliban out of here.
Right.
And then there's other people that are like, we should help the Taliban. That's the thing is like all this studying that I was doing, like I'm still having a really hard time legitimately accepting that the Taliban ain't going nowhere.
Right.
These are like people that are in control of the country of Afghanistan right now. I could kind of see in the future, in our lifetime, I could see Afghanistan changing their name to like Talibanistan. Not even joking.
Jeez.
Something like to that nature. So the U.S. withdrawing their forces from Afghanistan obviously increases like instability by allowing militants from Pakistan to establish a safe haven in Afghanistan. This is a really huge border issue, which we were hollering a long time ago in 2010 when I was there, where we were like, if we don't control these borders, like this conflict's going to never end ever, because of the drugs going from, think about what is surrounding Afghanistan. You got Iran, China, Pakistan.
Wait, I got a globe.
Oh, perfect.
My wife gave us a globe from her 5th grade classroom. So
Look at this.
All right, so what country are we looking at? Pakistan?
Yeah. Well, what surrounds Afghanistan is what I asked.
Oh, Afghanistan. So we have Turkmenistan. Is that still
Turkmenistan?
Is that still what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that to the north?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Uzbekistan.
Yep.
Tajikistan.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kyrgyzstan's right above that.
I've been to Kyrgyzstan.
Have you?
Yeah, that's where we flew into before we flew into Afghanistan. Yeah.
Jeez. It was a great time.
Loved it.
We have Pakistan to the east, and then we have Iran.
And so here's another thing. What is to the east of Pakistan?
Well, India and China.
So Pakistan is right in between India and Afghanistan. Just to kind of, I don't know. I think the disposition of these countries is pretty important to know. So the attacks have slowed down in recent years with the TTP. However, they're still like targeting security forces and civilians. Like they're fighting straight up Pakistan government. And the Pakistan government is consistently having diplomatic talks with the TTP. This is what's like baffling me, like about all of this, that the Taliban is in a position where they're having diplomacy talks.
Right.
They're negotiating with people of legitimate power in countries. And that's like what's kind of scary for me is, man, I'm really still having this like hard time accepting, wow, the Taliban really does control straight up an entire region.
Right. But it does weaken them, right? Because it's like ISIS is weaker than Taliban and al-qaeda because they are a legitimate organization. Like they have armies essentially.
The Taliban?
And ISIS.
ISIS.
And because of that, because they're not just based in like people in their garages, like getting mad, that they can be fought, right? Like ISIS can be fought on a front. So that's I think that's why we hear about ISIS events more, is because you can like digest it. Like there were soldiers, and then they went out on as like they made a line, and then they went and fought people, and then we fought them back. Whereas like whereas the Taliban and al-Qaeda, it's like there was a really mad guy, and then he like shot some mortars or like did an IED,
killed some school children.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like way harder to digest as a person. Like, well, how do you fight that? Like, how do you fight just like hatred?
So is that kind of like what you mean when it's like, how do you fight Christianity, or how would you?
Yeah,
fight?
Exactly. Like,
yeah. So recently,
well, how do you fight the KKK inside Christianity?
Right.
They hide inside it. Right.
That's a good point.
Rough.
So recently, what has been happening in Pakistan with the Taliban, as far as headlines are concerned, is that they are trying to reach a legitimate ceasefire, like an indefinite one.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I am going to get into something really interesting as we pivot to meanwhile back in Afghanistan.
Meanwhile, back in Afghanistan.
Yes. But I'm going to give us a little moment of respite and listen to what's going on in, let me guess, Africa?
No, I'm not going to go into Africa right now. I was going to. I studied. There is stuff going on in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, always.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. There's still stuff going on in Lake Chad. Before, I want to do the hearts and minds second and talk about their al-Qaeda's latest article that they posted. But before I do that, my first one is actually, and I didn't know about this, but May 24th, FBI, they announced that they thwarted an attempt on the life of former President George W. Bush.
What?
Yeah, did you know about this?
Say more.
Yeah, there was an assassination attempt, and they got the guy. So it was,
W?
yeah, it was Shahib. He was an Iraqi national living in Ohio. Disclaimer, this does not mean that everybody who doesn't look like you is an Iraqi national who is trying to assassinate, but this happens to be a case where
It's
this
an
guy
important
was.
distinction to make.
It is important. I've watched a lot of The West Wing. Feel like you got to say it. So he was living in Ohio, and he has ties with senior ISIS figures in Iraq. He had planned the assassination. And then as part of the plan, he intended to smuggle 4 ISIS operatives to the U.S. through the border with Mexico to help him carry out the assassination. The assassination was planned as an act of revenge on President Bush for the decision to invade Iraq in 2003. In addition, the FBI investigation revealed that a U.S. general who took part in the invasion of Iraq was also targeted. This is from CBS.
No, I didn't hear this, dude.
I didn't hear shit about this.
So how far did he get before the FBI, quote, thwarted his...
Right? Whenever I hear the word thwarted, like, great term, because that could be any amount of
that's
planning.
Pretty vague for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a little bit more details.
Did he have the knife? Like, was he walking with a knife and then you got him?
Could he see him? Was he in shouting distance?
Is he in his mom's, like, closet? Like,
Were
on
they
his
at
computer?
Applebee's? Like, that's W for his Sunday evening Applebee's beer.
He's on AIM. Like, he's on his AOL Messenger account. Like, he's not very close to the assassination at this point. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's all we know.
That's all we know.
This was May what now?
This was May 24th. Not that long ago.
You're like, that's pretty big news.
That's a week ago.
Hold on.
Yeah.
W? I mean, I saw George W. Bush make that
right. That's all I was thinking was his little speech. Yeah.
The faux pas was pretty bad.
Is unfortunate.
He was trying to talk about, just so everyone knows what we're talking about. I'm sure everyone knows what we're talking about.
I'm sure everybody knows.
This is not the Johnny Depp trial we're talking about. This is the...
where they eat candy. God.
What?
That was like a headline on it. Like, they're eating candy. Stupid.
I am so removed from the Johnny Depp trial, I can't even begin to explain to you. But anyway.
I did like on the Johnny Depp trial, one of the juniors of his law firm that he hired, where like her only job was to say objection and to state what the objection was. And there's a montage of her doing it and she crushes it. And everybody in the comments on Reddit is just like, this girl just made herself a president. Like, this girl just made herself a partner.
Everyone liked it?
Oh, she did so many objections and she cited specific events and the judge is just like, sustained. I will hear that objection. And like, she crushed it. It was nice. It's nice seeing like a girl in a courtroom just like crush everybody around. Like, you can't say that so much to where the prosecution, the lawyer was trying to answer. She was trying to ask the question, but she couldn't because she kept getting these good objections to her. And so she's just stammering. She's like, I'm trying to think of a question, which if you're a prosecution, I feel like that can't be a great thing you say to a judge.
No. Oh, so you're failing right now. I definitely am getting vibes here. It kind of reminds me of the Michael Jackson thing where Americans are like, that's bad, but he's a pretty good dancer.
Right.
like for the Johnny Depp thing, it's like, man, this really sucks, but I really want another Pirates of the Caribbean.
I just want one more Pirates.
These are where our priorities lie. So I just brought up a headline here. It says a human smuggling ring, comma, a plot to assassinate George W. Bush and an evolving threat. It's a sensational story to be sure, but this case is worth paying attention to for the details that make it unique and what it suggests about shifting terrorism resources in the U.S.
Why not put a period? Why a comma?
Yeah, I don't know.
Independent clauses, folks. Just put a period.
Yada, yada, yada. I'm trying to figure out here. The FBI's sprawling affidavit against a key suspect, a man identified as Shabib Ahmad Shabib. The inner workings of a seemingly sophisticated human smuggling ring.
Your Dan Carlin impersonation is getting pretty good these days.
Thank you. I've been listening to a lot of him. He's also a huge listener of ours, so I got.
He loves us.
Yeah.
As you know, listeners, I'm fascinated with the intensity of the human condition.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, we need to look more into this whole ISIS plot on.
It doesn't help with the border control argument of Mexico.
Now I'm seeing this something about Mexico.
It doesn't help it because they were going to smuggle the guy through Mexico to assassinate. It doesn't help us.
It says he's in custody.
Yeah.
They got him?
They got him. They thwarted it.
Thwarted.
Should we look at the etymology of thwarted? This is what I do with my students all day long.
Words, meanings, things.
They say something, and I'm like,
Person,
what does that
places,
word
things?
really mean?
You like to word, like a wordsmith trying to break apart what the hell is going on with words?
Yeah, the etymology. I love the etymology. So you prevent somebody from accomplishing, but it doesn't say that it stops you from trying.
I wonder if George W. Bush gives a fuck about any of this. Do you think he cares?
I don't know. That's a good question. George, you listen to our show. You're a big fan.
Email us.
Emails at Battle Buddies Pod.
Target high-profile figures. Their focus tends to be either much lower-level individuals or vulnerable public spaces. Where the fuck does George W. Bush even live? Texas?
He has to live in Texas.
Doesn't he own the Rangers still?
Does he own?
But he used to. The Rangers? The Texas Rangers?
He owned the Texas Rangers?
Fuck yeah, dude.
Their sport team?
They are
Which sport do they... Wait, let me guess. Not baseball. Is it baseball?
It's baseball.
Damn it! I was like, clearly it's not baseball.
It's not baseball. Oh boy. Okay, well that's fun to know about that. Are you done with your George W. Bush?
Yeah, George W's over.
All right, everybody. George W. Bush is safe.
He's safe.
And still making public faux pas. And will continue to do so until the day that he passes away.
Do you think it's an act?
His faux pas?
I was reading some rhetoric on him, and he's not a dummy.
He's not.
Like, doing cocaine in Ivy League, like, he clearly had good connections, clearly was not a dummy to where people gave him the drugs. And, like, so clearly, like, he was not the lowest level.
He speaks fluent Spanish.
But when he speaks as a president, leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, dude.
So there was some rhetorical analysis of saying it's all an act. It's part of the Southern charm. Like, so do you know about like the new Southern strategy?
Do tell.
So new Southern strategy when the Republicans lost the civil rights cases in the 70s, right, out of Texas, they switched up their strategy. They switched up all their rhetoric. And a lot of it became like othering, and a lot of it became like ingraining into like the things that they're ingrained into now, right? Like, so I'm going to pick like a moral issue and I'm going to like other everything that's not and create all these false dichotomies. And I wonder if a part of that strategy wasn't like, also, I'm going to play it dumb, even though I'm not.
Really?
Well, because like...
Is that supposed to be endearing?
Well, have you read... Well, it's also, I think, like, bulletproof vest a little bit, because when you read about some of the stuff Bush did for like, I don't know, helping people in Africa with different diseases, like he did tremendous work and he clearly was very competent.
I once heard a man by the name of Kanye West say that George Bush doesn't care about black people,
and like it felt fair at the time, and maybe and maybe within America that is fair, but people weren't really watching how he was handling like the West Nile virus. Like, so I forget which disease he was working on, but like he did good things. Was that just somebody that he hired, or did he actually do it, or did he play dumb? I don't know. So what did he play dumb?
Somebody in the Marine Corps one day when we were pretty, toasty posty drinking some drinks, he showed me a fictional movie about like what if George W. got assassinated. And it was when he was, I want to say, in his first term, and it was showing like a legitimate actual day and giving a speech in Chicago. It was fucking amazing speech. This was like,
oh really?
Yeah. And I also think that it was showing some of his speeches from when he ran for governor of Texas, I believe. He gave amazing speeches then too.
Yeah.
Maybe it is an act.
Maybe it's a little bit of an act.
That's
Or
interesting.
it's like, I mean, because if you put a hot mic on me all the time, and like when I'm hungover in the morning, like I'm not going to be saying great things like people should record and spread out to the world. So maybe he's unfortunately hungover sometimes when he's talking, or maybe he's asked a couple extra questions.
He got sober though at some point.
Yeah, but okay, even if I stayed up all night reading or playing video games, which is more likely, then that next morning when kids are asking me questions, I'm like, why are you talking to me? Like, that's not something I want like hot mic'd and like thrown out the world. Like, Kevin Parker does not like children.
Right. Do you?
They're all right.
Okay. All right.
Okay, what do you got?
Meanwhile, back in Afghanistan. So, I did not personally know that the Northern Pakistan University has 4,000 Afghan refugee students that the Pakistani government has taken in, clothed, and given homes, and are now in the process of they're like trying to educate them, like for free.
4,000?
Yeah.
That's a good amount.
But
damn it. That's significant. I was feeling good.
This is what people are referring to as a terrorist factory.
Damn it.
Every
time.
It openly indoctrinates jihad and has been the university that a lot of high-ranking Taliban members have gone to this university. Okay. Muhammad Omar went to this university, who was like a huge Taliban official. And it seems like there's a lot of theories floating around that Pakistan wants to make Afghanistan, they want to essentially like make it its sixth province. They want Afghanistan to be a part of Pakistan, which in my mind, I feel like isn't completely out of the realm of a possibility, especially if the Pakistan government, like I was just saying, is meeting up with TTP and talking with Taliban members, trying to like have an indefinite ceasefire.
Right.
Because a lot of the Pakistan civilians who are mothers are sitting there like, fuck the Taliban. My child's dead now.
Right.
Why are you sitting here? They straight up have said, why don't you take a page out of the United States book and stop negotiating with terrorists?
Right.
Speaking of George W.
Yeah.
We don't negotiate with terrorism, which I'm not saying is right or wrong, but I can see how somebody whose house has been blown up by the Taliban being like, why the fuck are we educating these people and negotiating with them like they're normal human beings? I
think it was Serial when they did Bo Bergdahl, the Dust One guy.
Yeah.
When she gives a part of one of her episodes, which like Hannah and I listened to it like 2 or 3 times on the road. That one part, because she was trying to explain what you as a Westerner don't understand about Pakistan, especially like the border. And it was, and I could be totally misremembering it, but essentially that our Western ideology, like we think of a whole country as like a unified thing. And she's like, that's not how it works. It's actually like a series of families and tribes. And so like the government only matters within that tribe because that's that tribe's government. And so I wonder if like that's part of it too. Like what maybe some tribes are like trying to consolidate and like make some bigger moves. Because that was with Bo Bergdahl, why they couldn't figure out, like they knew he was in Pakistan, but they like didn't know who he was with, or like they couldn't say it. It was weird.
Who's that other guy that we found in Pakistan? Pretty big name. What's his name again?
It's not Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah, Osama bin Laden.
He's there,
right?
Just hiding
in Pakistan.
He was in Pakistan.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not good. And we probably knew for a long time. Like high level intelligence probably knew for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to have.
And that was I don't want to get into it hardcore, but for me, and I'm sure a lot of Americans, the day we killed Osama bin Laden, I was like, so victory?
Right.
We won? Anyway, 40% of the Taliban is from Pakistan.
Oh, really?
That's a shocking statistic.
Yeah.
That's
not the number I would have thought it would have been.
No. Hell no.
That's not the way I'm taught for how it works.
I don't feel as though we in the United States get any exposure of Pakistan and the Taliban.
No.
That's pretty weird, right?
It is weird. I don't know what the Pakistan connection or hold is on America, but it's clearly something.
The CIA, bro.
Fucking CIA.
The fucking calling advance people.
The more I've learned about the CIA, the less I want to know about the CIA.
It's not a good look.
We've talked long about this, unfortunately for her, because I can't figure out if they were clearly they were not good at the start. They did things that I disagree with completely, like all the Project Paperclip stuff. Even Dan Carlin's like, and if you really want crazy world things, you should check out Project Paperclip. Like, for Dan Carlin to even say that Project Paperclip existed is nuts to me.
Yeah, because he's not a very colorful guy like that.
No, and it's like hard to prove, so it's not like backed up by enough. But for him to even be like, it's a thing, you should check it out, it's weird. But like, did they just move on? Like, sorry, and then went legit? Or are they like, we're better, and then they still do the other stuff?
So can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Do you like movies?
I love movies.
Okay. Can you think of a movie where they portray the CIA as like, this is a great place?
No.
Right?
No.
I'm even thinking of that movie, The Recruit, with Al Pacino. That doesn't end well.
No. What about Mindhunter?
That's FBI.
It is FBI. Damn it.
Also not great.
Not great.
Do you have a building called the fact that we still have a building called the J. Edgar Hoover Building? That's embarrassing.
That didn't age well.
No. Should we talk about women?
Yeah.
Not just women, but
we're experts. We're experts. We can handle this. Yeah. And let me tell you, listeners, what women want. No, I'm just.
Did you know that the movie What Women Want by Mel Gibson is actually the sequel to Passion of the Christ? What do women want? They want Jesus.
They want a lot of Jesus.
Yeah, What Women Want is just the New Testament. But anyway. So, meanwhile, back in Afghanistan, women are not really allowed to be seen in public alone right now. They need like a male escort.
It's always a good sign.
They also are not allowed to be seen on TV unless they are completely covered. Women's faces on billboards and advertisements for businesses have been, the Taliban's been going around and scratching off the face and blacking out the faces of women.
Like my 7th graders.
Is that what they're doing?
I mean,
that sounds like some incel shit.
I mean, they like cross out the eyes.
Like doodling.
Yeah, they doodle.
This is a little bit more intense.
This isn't doodling.
No, not doodling.
They aren't making them pirates.
Women's schools are closed and teenage girls are not allowed to go to school. Women are staying inside their homes to try and not alienate their families and get them in trouble. If they do get caught being outside, the Taliban will go by and put like a huge X on their door, Jesus. which is pretty.
It's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
That means they're going to drop treasure off.
Love is here. Yes. So women are pretty in. It's not good news for women in Afghanistan. I was saying a couple episodes ago, I was talking about how they can't drive there anymore.
Yeah.
It's only getting worse. Things are only getting worse. So there's like I saw like a video of like the United Nations today, and they were like, there's a huge human rights problem in Afghanistan right now. It's like, bro, fucking duh.
Yeah.
That's like for the last 20 decades, bro.
Water is still wet, friends.
I can go on. I'm going to be going on and on about Taliban So let's go ahead and take a break from the Taliban. And what you got for us?
Yeah, let's, I guess, go to something completely different and talk about ISIS.
Okay, we're in the same ballpark.
We're pretty close. Well, okay. But for listeners that are wanting to learn more, the book that really did help me was No God But God. That's the guy who wrote The Life and Times of Jesus of Nazareth, Zealot, that book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I forget the author's
The
name.
Origins, Evolution, and Future of Islam
Yeah, it's cool. And
by Reza
yeah,
Aslan.
yep.
Okay.
So he's cool. He's like a Christian. He's a Christian scholar. So he wrote Zealot. Christians hated it. And then he wrote,
Really?
yeah. He's kind
Why?
of he's kind of a dick in it.
Wait, the Zealot book?
Yeah.
They did not like that?
No, they didn't like it.
Why?
Because he talks about Jesus as a historical figure and a political figure rather than a spiritual figure.
They didn't like that?
Yeah, they didn't love it. But it's a good book.
Interesting. Yeah, my Aunt Corinne loved it.
Oh, really?
She recommended it to us, but I always was under the impression.
It's dope.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I remember thinking like, damn, my aunt doesn't. She's pretty #woke. I'm surprised she gave us this book about Jesus. About Jesus.
It made me like Jesus way more than I ever had before. Like I ended it being
no
like,
wonder Christians don't like it.
I'm like, I'm about to become Christian because Jesus sounds dope as hell. Like this is
Interesting.
cool.
Well, he sounds pretty socialist, no?
We just like, he's a radical. Like he was really pushing things in a way that people are already pushing it. Like the book is interesting, but like basically,
I need to check it out.
yeah, it's cool. But No God But God talks a lot about like Muhammad as the person and what he really did teach, and then what the scholars did after, and then how you can get to things like jihad and like how they're so different from like what he was doing.
Right.
And things that were like really humanizing for Muhammad, like, because it wasn't uncommon in that time for like men to go out into the desert and like just lay out until they got a vision, essentially, because that's just what they did. That's part of their culture. And so like he got his vision and like God spoke to him, and he like went to his wife and was just like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to do it. I'm going to go kill myself. And she was like, no, you can't do that.
Muhammad?
Yeah. And
Really?
and she's like, no, you can't do it. And he's like, oh, but it's gonna be so much work.
It's going to be a whole thing.
That's exactly what he said. I was like, this is cool. Like, this is, I need this. I need this in my heroes. Like, I need this, the humanizing moments.
Absolutely.
So anyway, all the scholar and like the crazy jihad stuff that came later isn't really what he was doing. Shocked. Just as the Crusades were not.
So wait, what you're saying, you mean to tell me that Muhammad would, if he were alive today, this whole ISIS thing, he'd be like, not part of my vision.
Yeah, I think he'd be sad.
Oh.
Just like I think if you put Jesus in front of like the Spanish Inquisition, he'd be like, why?
Or the, what's that place called that it's really popular within Catholicism?
The Vatican?
That.
Yeah.
Is that really what he had in mind, do you think?
He'd probably be hella confused.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So I like to read translated versions, as we know now, of the Al-Naba, which is the weekly ISIS newsletter. And I learned why it's ISIS specifically, because the Taliban and al-Qaeda, from what I understand, they have such strict restrictions because of their Sunni like extremism,
right,
that they can't partake in things like social media and stuff. So that's why I'm getting it through ISIS. Very interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
I am learning a little bit about the differences.
Huh.
I'm going to learn this stuff eventually.
So the people who don't use the internet, how do they get their message out?
How do they get their message out?
Word of mouth?
Just being mean.
MySpace?
MySpace again? Again, I think it's all AOL Instant Messenger.
Okay.
So this is in the Battle for Hearts and Minds. They talked about this was last week's, about the jihad. And I found it really interesting because it is like, he is so scared. Like that's how it reads to me.
The author?
People like not partaking in jihad to the extreme that they've had. And we talk about this a little bit with the Leyte Gulf with Japan, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you burn yourself to extinction. Because he says, if the jihad is not maintained, monotheism is compromised and polytheism spreads. The principle of Allah Walabara, which is loyalty to Allah and the separation from the infidel, it is therefore compromised. The distinction between infidels and believers is canceled, and Islamic law is not enforced. Abandonment of Islam is becoming acceptable, and migration of the state of Islam is canceled. Essentially, what that means to me is he's fucking terrified that people aren't so radical anymore, because over time, people can't stay at 100.
Okay. So this is just a classic case of they're taking Merry Christmas away from us.
Right? Yeah. Like, it's Christmas. Like, you can't take that.
Right. Don't say Xmas.
You can't say Xmas.
Don't take the Christ out of Christmas. That's what that seems like to me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting. It's
fear of a lack of fundamentalism.
yes. And like what that will do. Like, they clearly understand that it will destroy their whole organization.
We're only around if people are all, or if it has to be all.
They have to be all. And that was interesting, because then I was listening to a song, that Toby Keith song. I was thinking about today, that I ain't as good as I once was. And I forget why that song popped in my head, but
That's just a Vacaville thing.
yeah, well, Hannah really didn't like me singing it, so I sang it over and over again in the car. And then she's like, you know, they have a Taliban song. And I was like, Toby Keith doesn't have a fucking Taliban song. So then I listened to the Taliban song by Toby Keith like 8 times in a row in the car with my kids.
What?
And
What's it called, bro?
it's called the Taliban song.
You're lying.
No. That's not his only Taliban song. It's a 2003 jam.
Holy
And-
shit.
It really showed me the other side of this Taliban jihad thing, which is his first verse, which is supposed to humanize the people. And he's talking about them being a camel herder and living in a cave. And like, he's mad about the Taliban. And I was like, they have cars, you jackass. Like, they also can live in houses. Like, they're people. This is 2003. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Wait, is he trying to be, is this like satire?
no, he's like,
This is not ironic?
not the way that I heard it.
I'm just a middle-aged Middle Eastern camel herding man.
Maybe it's a little bit, but
I got a little 2-bedroom cave here in north of Afghanistan. The Middle East is not Afghanistan, by the way, Toby Keith. This is Asia, by the way.
it is Asia.
So, read a book.
Well, and then he has another Taliban song about putting like they put their boots in our boots in their asses. There's boots and asses about fighting, and the Statue of Liberty is making a fist.
We should do just fine out here around Palestine or maybe Turkmenistan. Isn't Palestine near Israel? He's looking at the globe.
Don't want to get this one wrong here.
Now they attacked New York City because they thought they could win.
It just,
There's a lot of there's a lot.
what's interesting is they try to humanize. I just find it as like a classic case of like, we're trying to humanize the other side, right? The civilians, but not really, because like they're just simple camel herders and they live in caves. And then the song goes on to talk about how much America kicks their asses. And
This is why they fucking hate us.
and if you know 2022, it's not gone well since then. Like this song makes it seem like the Iraq war is done. Like, we got it. We crushed it.
So I had to look this up because while I was there, when I hear camels in Afghanistan, my mind is like, I didn't see any camels there.
Oh, really?
No. And so I like Googled it. Are there camels in Afghanistan? Nah. Not really. If there's camels in Afghanistan, they were like imported from Iraq, or
Classic.
they're not just chilling in Afghanistan. No.
Songwriters of the world, storytellers.
So
Every
I'm just seeing mistakes in this song. And hey, you know what? First of all, I'm pretty sure, I just want to say, if you are a Toby Keith fan, Toby Keith came and visited us while we were in Afghanistan.
That's nice.
I have no problems with the man, but somebody else probably wrote this for him.
It just didn't age well.
I'm not into it personally.
My thing is, songwriters of the world listening, go with bread makers. Most cultures, if you read Guns, Germs, and Steel, most cultures make bread.
Yeah.
Some form of it. You can make naan. Naan is delicious. You put a little garlic in it, a little goat cheese.
Love naan.
Great.
The last line of this song is we'll bid a fair adieu and flip a big boner to the Taliban, baby.
Also, you should listen to it because
I don't feel like the word boner and baby should be in the same sentence in a song. Just FYI. Boner, baby.
it gets a good reaction from the crowd.
Does it?
Oh, the crowd goes wild.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. When your wife was like, "Are you going to sing the Taliban song, Spencer?" I'm so proud of myself for having no idea what she was talking about.
I know, it was so good. I was like, he doesn't have a fucking Taliban song.
No.
It's like he has two Taliban songs.
That's how good it went the first time. He had to make another one.
That's his sequel. That's not his first one.
Yikes.
Anyway, my kids know all the words now to them. They're rough.
Okay, so meanwhile, back in Afghanistan, speaking of...
The war is over as of 2003.
Toby
Keith told me it was over.
Yeah, all with big boners and all.
I think they were like blushing at what we were doing with our bombing. It was so intense, something like that.
Is that what he says?
There's like boots in their asses.
So
aged like milk.
The Taliban are stepping up coal exports to Pakistan and have raised. Mm-hmm. They have been exporting so much coal that, let me see here, they've collected around 3 billion Afghanis. So for those of you, when I say 3 billion Afghanis, that doesn't mean people. Afghani is money.
I thought you were about to do they aren't real people.
No.
This is dark.
No. So here in the United States, we because we've heard the word Iraqi so much, we kind of we just used that in the same term for like calling Afghans Afghanis. But Afghani is what their money is called.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So 3 billion Afghanis from coal exports, which is the equivalent of $33.8 million.
Whoa.
That was in the last 6 months. And so I know that the Taliban is trying to completely cut off people growing poppy because the Taliban wants to control the growing of poppy. They don't want just Joe Schmo farmer growing his own poppy. It's like, no, that's money for us. We want to be able to. And now people, because Afghanistan is rich in minerals and resources such as coal.
Are you telling me that's why it's so popular? No, couldn't be.
Resources?
Could not be related to resources. It's only ideology.
It's not because of the land. I'm telling you that right now. It's not a beautiful. There are beautiful spots. Don't get me wrong. Okay, love me some Sangin, Musa Calais, but no, it's because there's hella coal there now too, and one of the reasons that they've been able to sell coal so easily is because all the coal that's in Ukraine and in Russia, can't be shipped out right now.
Whoa!
So their increase of exportations of coal has been the Ukraine and Russia war has been good for Afghanistan.
Wow!
As far as exports are concerned,
great.
So
that's such a complicated thing that I have no idea how I feel about it.
To caveat the complications, I'm going to end with what I'm taking away from this week's talk about the Taliban, where I just told you, I was like, I am having a hard time accepting that the Taliban is essentially a government now.
Right.
That's something that we have to accept, right? no country has accepted or recognized the Taliban as
Hey.
its own government. And what that has meant for international relations is the Taliban is not able to get financial assistance
Right.
or any humanitarian or economic help.
They can't even get North Korea level support.
So people are dying in Afghanistan.
Oh, great. I was really hoping that would be the solution.
Right. So like kids are dying of hunger. Medical supplies are going away because and I empathize with this because like I just told you, I have such a hard time being like,
you're morally opposed to them being
oh, the
recognized
Taliban
as-
is a government. No, this is
Right.
the thing. People are having a really hard time accepting that because we don't want to accept it. But the longer we don't, the longer the people of the Taliban nation, known as Afghanistan, the innocent people aren't going to get help from like humanitarian
No,
efforts.
They can't help them.
No. So that is my really positive ending
Ooh.
little thesis statement
Yeah.
there.
Holy shit. That's such a...
More you know.
North Korea gets food.
From where? You know?
Well, we give them money.
Do we?
Yeah.
North Korea?
We give North Korea
Like the
money.
government?
Yeah, so this is what I think I didn't understand for a long time with how like the deals work with like non-nuclear, like, you know, like making sure that they slow down their nuclear production in like Iran and North Korea. Essentially, we give them a certain amount of money as long as they don't produce their weapons so quickly. And it's humanitarian aid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to one of these weeks. I mean, it might be a couple episodes. I would like to do some diving into North Korea. I'm just really sad
Yeah,
about it.
I've not walked away from any research on North Korea being like, this is dope. This
Right.
is like, things are
No,
great.
it's all going to be really sad and depressing.
But we've been talking about it, like, we don't want to put our heads in the sand. Like, I'm not going to let it stop me from living my life. And I also want to know what's going on in the world.
yeah.
I'm thinking of that stupid Bo Burnham song you sent me from his outtakes. And he's talking about being in 1985. He just wants to be a white guy in 1985, reading the news and not being affected by it. Like that, to him, like that's pinnacle adulthood. Is you can read the news and not be affected with your day.
Tom Papa, a stand-up comedian, has a joke from hella long ago, probably the 80s or 90s. But he's talking about whenever there's caution tape up, he's like, I'm a white guy, so I can just walk up to a cop and be like, excuse me, sir, what's going on here? And he has to tell me.
Legally, he has to tell me exactly what's going on.
Man, I'm looking at pie charts and bar graphs about the United Nations sending aid to North Korea. Oh, here's a picture of Donald Trump shaking Kim Jong-un's hand.
Yeah.
That's fun. They look stoked.
And then to complicate Donald Trump, he also gave a ton to historically black universities. I was reading about that.
Did he?
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's a nice thing to do.
Didn't hear that one on the news, did you?
No, I was like, confusing.
Yeah.
The news told me it was one side. Everything is one-sided. It's not. Well, I do have something. I'll have something more positive to end it on. So, a couple episodes ago, we talked about the ISIS leader, the dick, who blew himself up.
Oh, yes.
He blew himself up, and he blew up his family and his neighbors, which is like, fuck him. Like, I hate him. And we had my favorite joke Spencer said so far, which is, even in church, someone in the back of church be like, yeah, fuck that guy. And like, no one's going to say anything. So, Turkey announced on May 26th that they captured the ISIS leader, Abu al-Hassan al-Hassimi al-Kuwashi. And that's important because we don't know exactly who the ISIS leader is right now. It could be between al-Sumadai or that guy. And if it is that guy, then what we just did is we've captured an ISIS leader alive. And we've never potentially done that before.
Oh, really?
And they're like, if this is true, big if true.
Yeah.
And in my mind, big if not true still. Like, just the fact that we got somebody that could be the leader, like, that's cool. Like, we have we did something good. Like we caught a guy alive. Like that's what we need to be doing with these ISIS dudes and these al-Qaeda guys.
What? Put him on trial? Ask him questions
Ask
that he's
him
not going to
questions.
answer?
They might answer him.
You think so?
If we don't do the stupid torture techniques of the stupid Air Force guys. Have you watched The Report?
What are you talking about?
Adam Driver's The Report?
I don't really like movies.
Yeah. So Adam Driver made...
Oh, is that good?
It's really good. It's really
I know
depressing.
what you're talking about.
It's really fucking depressing.
Yay.
Because he goes through all of post 9/11 scare, like all the fear mongering, and these two, and he explains it, and I read about it, but like it's different when you watch the guys act it out. There's like these two pilots, and they're like, yeah, we could teach you how to do some torture. And everyone's like, sure. And that's it. Like, they're not torture experts. Like, the dude wrote his PhD on like family therapy doll making, and like this dude's giving advice on how to torture like extremists, and it doesn't go well, and they kill some of them, and they like destroy other ones, and they radicalize some. And that's, fast forward 2022, we're still fighting this fucking war because of that.
So torture doesn't work?
Not the way that they fucking did it. Turns out the best form of torture, as the Nazis had taught us, which is like their best torture method, which was just being super fucking nice to people. Like it works.
Some reverse psychology is the best torture?
It's not even reverse. It's just like being hella nice.
So you mean like to POWs and shit?
Yeah, like so one Nazi guy that was like the best one, and we used his books. I think we still use his book in different interrogation techniques, which is like he would get down to pilots, and then he would just like feed them and talk to them for a while, and then would get stuff out of them because everyone slips up when someone's nice to them for a long
like
period
some
of time.
Stockholm syndrome shit, kind of?
Yeah, a little bit. Just like
Interesting.
human moments of like...
Next time I see my fucking sworn enemy, I'm going to be like, would you like some Skittles?
Exactly. I heard you like Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Oh,
wait. Sorry, I misread that.
We did not capture.
No. We captured Abu al-Hassan al-Qurashi, but he's not one of the proposed leaders. They caught... I think they caught al-Sumadai, and they think he's one of the leaders. Pretty cool. They said it could be an enormous blow to ISIS's morale, which would be great.
Yeah, I would like...
I would love for that to happen. I obviously know how torture techniques work.
Did you ever see Zero Dark 30?
No. Why would I watch that movie?
It's about the capturing of Osama bin Laden.
I know, but...
It's entertaining.
Is it entertaining?
Yes, of course. It's about the capturing of Osama bin Laden. But there's a lot of torture interrogation stuff in that.
But is it like torture being successful? Because from what I've learned is none of it came from... No torture technique has led to... Correct me if I'm wrong. Please email me if I'm wrong on this. But from what I understand, we haven't gotten any actual intel from these torture techniques on this original set from like the 2001 to 2000 whenever.
I think the best torturing technique for information is starving someone.
Okay. People get really hungry.
Yeah.
Well, what they would do is they would mess with them and starve them, but all of that, because like if it was me, I would just tell you anything. And like that became a big thing, is like they would just tell anything. And
so I think one of the ways, I haven't seen the movie in a really long time, allegedly, and this is probably maybe Hollywood just being Hollywood, but the way that they get information from one of these insurgents is they torture the shit out of him, starve him, and then don't talk to him for a couple of days to the point where his memory's all fucked. And then they tell him, like, oh, you told us this. They give him a technique where they explain to him the stuff that they told, like they make it up.
Okay.
And they try to see if he agrees with it. And be like, oh, you told us this. Here's some food. Thank you for telling us that.
Interesting.
And he's like, I don't remember telling you that. It's like, well, you did. And that's how they get certain information.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds better than what the waterboarding.
Well, I mean, there was waterboarding. That did happen.
Waterboarding was not successful.
No, I can't see that being going great. Yeah.
I would tell you anything.
So I was watching another movie called The Outpost.
Was it on YouTube?
No, it was on Netflix, and Jake Tapper wrote the book, which I'm kind of shocked because it doesn't seem like Jake Tapper would write something like that.
Right.
But it was showing a scene where these dudes, this does sound like some shit you would do on deployment, but guys were testing each other to see how long they could waterboard each other.
Oh my God. I could totally see myself
You got
being
20
that bored.
seconds. Yeah, part of me wants to do it just to see what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you and I do that and record a video.
That'd be
people,
good.
Yeah, people. That would be good. Yes.
We should make our kids watch us do it. Like, really scar
That's how
'em.
committed we are, folks. We will waterboard ourselves for you. We just got to get to 1,000 listens, and we'll waterboard ourselves.
we could waterboard ourselves at 1,000 listens.
We'll start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, that'd be
we
great.
just start torturing ourselves.
Yeah.
People might be into that kind of masochistic stuff.
It's rough.
Yeah. Anything else in our world? In the world of current conflicts?
Do you know who you're voting for California?
I voted.
You already voted.
Yeah.
So I read through the candidates for governor, terrified of all of them. Holy shit.
I was saying this yesterday, dude, and I hate saying this out loud, but it's genuinely the truth. So I'm going to be vulnerable here and be really honest with you. As I've gotten older and I've seen how politics has been playing out as a 32-year-old man in 2022, I've become really apathetic with voting.
Yeah.
I vote, everyone. Just relax. I fucking vote.
Chill out, guys. He did vote.
I vote.
This
but
isn't a South Park episode. You don't have to go freaking frisk him, hang
everyone
him.
Just relax. I vote. Jesus Christ. But I am just so pretty apathetic about the entire thing. Like, whew,
yeah.
Sure. It sound. Well, why do you ask?
Because I have no idea who to vote for the other candidates. I was wondering if you had any insights for us California
I do have,
voters.
so I have insight on that.
Okay.
There is a website that I recommend to anybody. It is a nonprofit website, isidewith.com.
Okay.
And it is an extensive test that you take it asks you what your opinion is on issues. You punch an option, and then at the end it tells you based off of where you live what you should put on your ballot.
Okay.
And that's how I voted.
Okay.
And it turns out that I am basically Teddy Roosevelt.
Okay. You want jobs?
Thank you, everyone who has been listening to us.
Yeah.
We reached some cool milestones recently with listeners.
Wait, did we hit our first $1? We may have hit our first $1. Let's see. We're super close. I've been stoked on this.
Thank you to all the folks on Reddit. That's been our huge community.
$1 exactly,
We
folks.
have $1.
You guys, we made $1.
Don't spend it all in one place.
We don't even need a map anymore. We got a globe.
Yeah, so we appreciate you guys for listening. It does genuinely, the more listeners we get, obviously, the more it helps. Hey, we're now on every single platform that you can listen to podcasts.
Spencer has made that happen.
We are on iTunes. We are on Stitcher. We are on Google Podcasts, Spotify,
Audible.
That's
crazy.
We're on all the things now.
That's cool.
All that I ask, and I know that this is a pretty, not a great thing to hear these days, but rate us.
Yeah. Smash that subscribe button.
Smash up that subscribe button and rate us. Even if you don't like us, you can rate us.
Yeah, rate us poorly.
Rate us poorly. Or rate us well. Email us if you want to hear about a future battle. I kind of have an idea for what we're going to do after Leyte Golf.
Okay.
Kind of want to get into some tanks, but we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Email us ideas. It sounds like tomorrow we might record an episode where we watch me and Kevin here are going to talk about a military movie and talk about it's going to be filled with spoilers. So
yeah, it's going to be spoiler heavy.
Yeah, spoiler heavy. We're on the Twitter universe, Battle Buddies at Battle Buddies 4. Email us at battle_buddies_pod@gmail.com. We're on Reddit.
Do you have to give the underscore when you do an email?
I mean, that's our address.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if you had to or not. I think you don't always have to.
That's our thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, and then no, our email's not battle underscore, right?
No, it's just Battle Buddies Pod.
Okay, I'm talking about Instagram.
Yeah.
Our Instagram is battle underscore buddies underscore pod.
I promise I'll start posting on it soon.
Stop?
I'll start.
Yeah, okay.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
I have it up right now. I'm going to post on it.
So yeah, listeners, feel free to interact with us. We are people who have souls.
Me?
Yes, that's a way of
Are
saying.
souls things?
27 grams, bro.
27 grams.
That's how much our souls weigh.
That's cool.
So thank you
Thanks,
to
guys.
the listener who has made it this far.
And to the Academy.
And to the Academy, yes.